hockey fans, are you ready to brave the wild? With me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Owygen. Brave the Wild is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Double Twist. Thank you once again for joining me today. And of course, Apple Podcasts, you could also call it iTunes, I suppose. The Minnesota Wild have continued their winning ways. They continue to make comebacks. They win in shootouts. And hey, Minnesota Wild 3-0 in the past week. Not to mention, right in the hunt for the playoffs. I'm pretty surprised considering what an awful start this team had. Yes, he had the bad road start to the season, but you know how it always makes up and everything. Everything's relative. You end up getting more home games later in the season because it's 50-50. And that's why Bill Guerin was like, we can't use that as an excuse or anything. And hey, if you actually play well on the road, take advantage of it because you've been playing freaking awesome at home. And all right, well, Minnesota playing awesome at home and playing well on the road. Nice, amazing accomplishment, I think, beating Florida with all that offense. Most recently, that was pretty spectacular stuff. And Kaapo Kahkonen, what an amazing performance that was. Hunter Jones, similar game in the OHL, but for Kahkonen to do it in the NHL, facing like almost 50 shots, pretty freaking great, coming out with the victory. So, spectacular week for the Minnesota Wild. We're back in playoff contention. Some of you might be happy, some of you might not be. It's fun to be competitive. It's fun to have a winning record, which the Wild do right now with a 13-11-4 overtime / shootout losses along the way, which of course you get a point out of it. Yay. That's how it is. Minnesota is 5th place in the Central Division, a point ahead of Nashville, 5 points ahead of Chicago, which is obviously our arch nemesis regardless of what their record is, because certain players on that team always find a way to score against us. But actually even beat the Dallas Stars recently. That was great. Things started out with Ottawa on Black Friday, and it was like the most boring start ever. But then again, was it? It was boring in terms of the fact the Wild couldn't score. We were getting chance after chance after chance, about 20 shots in the first period against Anders Nilsson. I almost called him Anders Lee. No, Anders Nilsson of the Ottawa Senators, of course, former Vancouver Canuck goaltender and all that good stuff. But and then once the Wild started scoring, it was just game on. The Wild went ape crap and tore this team a new one. It looked like a typical frustrating matinee game, a 3 o'clock start, Black Friday. Here we go again. We're going to lose at home in a matinee game to a team that's not as good as us. You know, I mean, even though their record isn't that bad, but they don't really score a whole lot of goals. Their goaltending is not real good. There's just not a whole lot there. They're rebuilding. They have a couple of good players, a couple of guys for the future, and another guy who stepped up, who was pretty mediocre most of his career, and Joe, who has stepped up big time, Jean Gabriel there. Brady Tkachuk would score early with a Parise type of goal. He's obviously a very physical player, multiple hits in the game, 6 hits in the game. Brady Tkachuk got into it with Kevin Fiala. Entertaining matchup there with those two kind of going at it a little bit. Chris Tierney, the former San Jose Shark, blah, blah, blah. But really a team that's just kind of pieced together to be, I don't know, just to be there for now and kind of work in the rebuild and all that. So, I mean, nothing really special about the Vancouver Canucks. And Anders Nilsson went from a goalie who was stopping everything to a goalie who was getting beat over and over and over and over. So it ended up being a very positive Black Friday for Minnesota. Jason Zucker's been piling up the points. He's actually tied with Eric Stahl for the team lead in overall points now. 10 goals in the season, 19 total. Stahl at 19. Zach Parise just continuing the surge. 12 goals to lead the entire club. 5 assists, which he would pick up one against Florida with Soucy this past week. One of his few 5 assists this year, so to speak. Parise's just been attacking the net. But again, getting a couple of assists recently, finally, for him. Cunnin would get a empty net goal for his 6th of the year against Florida, and hey, it was a pretty nice shot. Victor Rask, very solid in these games. Happy with him as the 4th line center, but again, we'll just keep coming back to the contract. I mean, is he worth $4 million a year to be a 4th line center? That's the thing. I mean, he's been a good 4th line center. He's doing his job, I guess, and that's all she wrote. Cunnin would get his 5th goal this season against the Ottawa Senators. Again, the floodgates would just open after Ottawa would take a 1-0 and a 2-1 lead. Brady Tkachuk, that was the 2nd goal of the game for Brady Tkachuk at the end of the day that got things going in the positive direction for the Senators, which also, again, had the fans frustrated. 2-1 deficit to Ottawa. And again, Nielsen stopping so many shots. Again, Ryan Donato was able to get one unassisted, kind of getting off the turnover there and making a move on Nielsen to get things going, tying things up midway through the second period. To think it took half the game to score, you're like, man, it's about time, but it's a tie. Brady Tkachuk just a minute later would put it in. Spurgeon, who again now is going to be lost for a couple of weeks as of the Florida game, along with Koivu. That's frustrating. He'd get his third goal of the year. Parisi, again, a classic goal there with Fiala getting the puck on net, and this is where Tkachuk and Fiala kind of went at it, but Parisi, his classic, up-close goal there. Cunnin and Ryan Hartman just rifling the shot on net. At the end of the day, Brodin somehow got an assist there, but no, I understand getting the puck to Hartman. And again, it's just one of those kind of goals. You just put the puck on net and you got a shot, and that's all there is. You never know. Maybe your shot just fooled him somehow, some way, or he just wasn't ready for it, or whatever. Slow reaction. Ryan Hartman, third goal of the year. Appreciated that very much. This was a nice, easygoing game in the second half. Again, the first half, the Wild got so many shots on net and nothing was going in. It was so frustrating. There were some good chances. Nielsen, it was just one of those games where Nielsen can't be this good. And then finally things broke through. The Wild wind up getting the job done against Anders Nielsen. And Alex Stalock just continued to hold strong. Stopped 33 of 35. Very solid performance for Alex Stalock, who again, he's a guy who's capable of having really good games, and then he has these kind of gaff-type goals. I mean, you could say that about any goalie. Obviously, Dubnyk has given up some yucky goals the last couple of years as he's declined gradually. This year, much more rapidly, unfortunately. We'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of the off-ice, we'll call them, distractions, issues with his wife's health, unfortunately, God bless her and him, might have had something to do with it. I mean, your mind is not going to be the same. You're a goalie out there with the puck coming at you at all different directions, different angles. Your concentration just simply can't be the same, no matter how good you are. And I wouldn't be surprised if that had to do with it. But at the same time, the last couple of years, Dubnyk has declined a bit. Anders Nielsen has not been a bad goalie, really. He's never been bad. But I mean, I feel bad. But I mean, he gave up 7 goals in this one. The Wild definitely came out with an energy and a spark, and it was definitely a wonderful thing. Minnesota getting to 500 over with a victory over Ottawa. It's amazing, too, how in hockey you can be really close to 500 and you're a last-place team. It's pretty crazy. Back in the old days, you could be like 15 games below 500 and be in the playoffs. It's pretty weird how hockey has changed so dramatically the last several years. Back in the old Norris division and such with the Blues and the Blackhawks, not that things have changed there now with the Central Division, but they certainly were different with the Northwest for an extended period of time. Wild wrap up the month of November 500 with a 500 record, which is great. Not the month of November because they actually were above 500, but after an awful start to the season in October. But they wrap up the month with an overall 500 record. Now you get the Dallas Stars coming home. Mikko Koivu celebrating a 700th point. Big milestone for him. And then now it's 1,000th game coming up. Pretty exciting stuff indeed. Awesome day for Mikko Koivu. 700 points. Would wind up with his wind up getting an assist on his 700th total point in the National Hockey League. Alex Stalock would have another good, solid game, though again, not a good goal given up on the second one. That's where a lot of Wild fans were kind of like, oh boy, we're going to find a way to lose this one, aren't we? Because we almost always lose to the Dallas Stars. That was on the Comeo goal. Just kind of wrapped the puck around from a distance. Just again, similar to Ryan Hartman, putting the puck on net and went right through his legs. Just Stalock not ready for that one. That was kind of devastating. With about 6 minutes remaining in the game, he thought, we're screwed. Again, after Kevin Fiala, nice goal there. Basically off his skate as he's coming to the net. I mean, one way or another, if you can put the puck in, put it in. There was no room for him to use his stick. So as he was kind of sliding into the net, of course, Fiala did not kick it in. It just deflected in. And if you're going to score, you're going to score. Kevin Fiala's 6th goal of the season on the power play on a good play from Parisi. And Koivu actually was the main guy really setting this thing up. Parisi would get the second assist, but Koivu, there was the milestone point for the aforementioned Mikko Koivu, who again has had a wonderful career. I'm going to talk about Mikko Koivu right now. Again, so far in this season, 2 goals, 10 assists, and again, 700 total points on Koivu's career. He also did get his 1,000th game as well, all at the same time, actually. Pretty spectacular against the Dallas Stars. I don't know why I said coming up. That was the one right here. That's what I meant to say, actually. 28 games, obviously, 1,001 against the Florida Panthers. Now he's going to miss a game or two. He's kind of day-to-day lower body injury. It's actually quite uncertain what it is. And you know how they are in hockey, how they cover things up at ankle, maybe his knee's bugging him a little bit. But when I want to talk about Mikko Koivu again, as you know, I mean, sometimes I don't say the nicest things about him, like he's slow, he's old, he's past his prime, it's going to be nice when his contract's up. And it's like, you know, the way the guy has come back this season from an ACL injury, which was fairly late in the year last year, I'd have to say, fairly late in the year. If this was basketball, if Mikko Koivu was an NBA player, you know, he would still be out. He'd probably still be out maybe the rest of the season. I mean, look at a lot of NBA players. They just don't come back. And I'm not going to say NBA players don't work hard. I'm sure they work hard. But I think hockey players work harder. You can't say, oh, you know, well, basketball, they need their knees so much. They rely on their speed and this and that and jumping. But you think hockey players don't rely on their knees to skate? I mean, yeah, no. Just think about how much you rely on your knees to skate. You rely on your ankles, your knees, this and that. And for this guy to just roll back into the regular season and look like he hasn't really lost a step at all, it's pretty damn impressive. And I know modern technology is better than it was in the past. This isn't 91, this isn't 81, when if a guy had an ACL, things were quite different back in the day. Modern medicine, modern surgery, blah, 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 is better. And certain ways of rehabbing are probably better as well. But whatever Mikko Koivu did in the offseason, he did a hell of a job, and it's spectacular. He's not a 100-point player. He's not a 60-point player at this stage of his career. He's had some good seasons. Obviously, he had a 71-point year way back in 9-10. Gosh, that was 10 years ago already. Sad. 22 goals that year. 1 year, he was on his way to having a really strong season. That was 07-08, back when I was doing YouTube videos. The guy would have had a career year, I think. I might have been his 80-point season if Mattias Ohlund didn't slash him and break his leg. Very disappointing. He was on a hell of a pace. He eventually came back, and he was, you know, not as good. He wasn't as good because, obviously, the bone was still recovering during the course of the season. Bones take forever to heal. Even though they're healed, they still hurt like hell, and you're not going to move as quickly. Though, again, Koivu is the type of guy who will tough his way through anything. Overall, awesome season at the end of the day for the aforementioned Koivu. But you just look back and think, you reflect on his career and what he's done for this team. It's been awesome. They're talking about should they retire his number. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. I think they have to retire Mikko Koivu's number, even though you might think, again, he's not, he's not Sidney Crosby. He's not, Mike Modano. He's not this guy. He's not that guy, and he wears Mike Modano's number, which is kind of funny. Back in the day, he wore 21, like when he was brand new. I remember the excitement of him coming over back in the day, too. You figured this guy could be one of the captains one day. He could be the captain of the team one day, and this and that. He has leadership skills. Way back in his early days in Finland, his numbers weren't so good, boy. It was like, uh-oh. But, I mean, over in Europe, the numbers are different. You're often going to get lower numbers than you're going to get in the NHL. Even though the NHL, sometimes you think there isn't as much scoring as there was back in the 80s or whatever. But at the end of the day, Koivu has had a good, solid, awesome career for the Wild. And his comeback from this ACL has been pretty remarkable. I think he's done a wonderful job. And it's nice to see him basically as the same guy. And in some ways, you could say he's been a little bit better. His numbers haven't been great lately, but he did get his 700th point in his 1,000th game. It couldn't come at a better time, and luckily at home and against the former North Stars. Not that anyone cares anymore about the Dallas Stars. Well, we care. I hate that they left. I wish the Wild's name was the Minnesota North Stars, quite honestly, even though the Minnesota Wild's logo has got to be the most unique logo in the NHL, if not all of professional sports. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful logo. A lot of people don't like the name very much. I'll always cherish the North Stars. I always like the N with a star much more than stars. Or now they have a D with a star around it. Not very exciting. Not at all. It might as well be like the Tennessee Titans with a T for your logo, even though there's artwork around the T. Yeah, wow. It's fantastic, right? But no, also the good news again, this also kind of reflected back into Koivu's career circa maybe 07, 06. I don't think it was 06. That's way back. Couldn't have been 06. It must have been 07, 08, around then. Back in my service days when I had the radio out. I had the, you could call it a boombox, but it's not that big. With the radio out, listening to a Wild game. Minnesota was playing the Dallas Stars in Xcel Energy Center. We got to a shootout. Yeah, so obviously it's after 06, after that lockout. And Koivu came back after the lockout. That's why at Minnesota, again, we put him in Houston that year because we saw they were still the Houston Aeros before they moved to Iowa. And guys like Koivu, Bouchard, and such went there and improve during the course of that season, during the off seasons, rather than just kind of screwing around or having to go to Europe. They played in the AHL to kind of get close enough to the NHL and get ready. Why am I even getting into that? But no, Koivu in that game against the Dallas Stars scored on the backhand to win the shootout. It was opportunity. He scores and we win. And of course, in this one, he ends up being the victor here by putting the puck in the net on the backhand. Now, of course, Alex Stalock had to make a save, and he did, luckily, at the end of the day. But a fitting night, a fun night for Mikko Koivu. Definitely a beautiful day for him. He was you got to see him smile, which he doesn't do all that often because he's a very serious guy. You got to see him smile and just kind of cherish the moment and appreciate the fans, which was pretty damn cool. Is this his last season in Minnesota? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Would he take a discount? I don't know. It is what it is. He's not going to play forever. Like him or don't like him, he's not going to play forever. Obviously, his value is crazy with the face-offs and such. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to win every face-off, but Koivu is the best face-off center we've had in the history of the Minnesota Wild, and he's up the charts there. Games played, points, and all that. Pretty damn spectacular. So, got to thank Mikko Koivu and recognize him here and being the hero at the end of the day. Not only setting up that nice goal by Kevin Fiala, setting things up, he basically kept the puck in the zone, put the puck in the right place, right time for Kevin Fiala to slide the puck into the net, basically, from his skate. Not kicking it, but as he was sliding towards the net and deflected in off his skate. No kicking motion, and Fiala get his 6th goal of the year. And again, the patented backhand goal by Mikko Koivu, and luckily Corey Perry, the aging Corey Perry, former Anaheim Duck, and we'll talk about them in a bit in the second segment, unable to get one in past Alex Stalock. Minnesota secures a victory and a very touching, fun night, Minnesota versus Dallas. So overall, mostly a Mikko Koivu night at the end of the day, as I pretty much made him the number one topic by far over the course of this game review on December the 1st, Sunday, December the 1st. Starting December off with a nice start here. You head to Florida, you think, oh, great, the Florida two-step, and then you go to Carolina as well. Florida, Tampa, Carolina, that just reeks of a 3-game losing streak. And the way Florida came out pounding the Minnesota Wild on Tuesday the 3rd, in front of about 5,000 people, yeah, not impressive. Yeah, the image here, you look around in Yahoo Sports, not the current image. In fact, look at that scoreboard. That scoreboard looks like it's from the 90s or something, or maybe 2000-ish. Yeah, I don't know. There were not that many fans in the building. It was about 5,000 people, maybe. I mean, it looked like Gophers versus St. Lawrence, which the Gophers lost last year. Pretty disappointing crowd. In Florida, you figured, oh, it's Florida, maybe they're just late. No, they never came. And it's a good hockey team. They score goals. They provide a lot of offense. Their goaltending stinks at the end of the day. Can't say the goaltender in the net in this particular night was that bad. Dregger wasn't that bad, but he wasn't that good either. Minnesota only mustered 25 shots in net. Florida dominated the puck the entire game, especially the first period. It looked like the Wild were dead. The official attendance, the paid attendance, was 10,167. Oh, boy. Unfortunately, it sounds like Quebec City's never going to host an NHL team anymore. They say just the dollar doesn't add up for them. There's just not enough money to be made there. But Florida, you think in Miami, Florida, they'd be doing okay, but Jiminy Christmas, man, 10,167. Maybe you're not impressed with the Minnesota Wild, and you'll get more excited if, say, cross-state Tampa comes in, or Washington Capitals, blah, 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 Pittsburgh, you could go on forever. Vegas Golden Knights, fun team to watch. It looked like Florida was going to knock the Wild on their butts. It looked like it was going to be a 4-2, 4-1 game, which I kind of predicted. I figured the Wild would score goals in this game. I did, but I figured Florida would too. But then you have Kaapo Kahkonen in net. Kaapo Kahkonen in net. The 2 goals he gave up weren't the best, especially the first one, maybe didn't have the best angle on it, but, come on. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to be there at the right place, right time, all the time. It was cool to hear Lou Nanne as the color commentator in this one, and it figures. You know how it's been kind of like a roving group of color commentators now, which I think is fun. And, of course, the radio, as Bob Kurtz continues to age, that you're having guys fill in. Even Paul Allen's going to fill in on a couple of roadies in March. Pretty crazy. Paul Allen, the voice of the Minnesota Vikings, of course, on the radio. Kind of funny, but it figures. Of all places, Lou Nanne would be the color commentator. Florida. You think Yeah, and obviously, again, Lou Nanne, originally Canadian, Minnesota's this and that, former, even played for the Gophers in the early 60s, the North Stars, blah, 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 fixture in Minnesota. But he travels for business all the time, places like Chicago and then more exotic places like Florida and such, a little warmer climates and such. It just figures of all places, yep, oh yeah, I'm in Florida, I'll be in Florida during that time, so that's a good time to be on the air there, there, eh? No, I'm just kidding, he doesn't quite talk like that, but I love it. But no, kind of a scary start to this game. Florida, as I expected, the offense is there. The shot attempts are very much there. Kaapo Kahkonen just held his own. And now you're getting people on Minnesota Wild Global and such. Pavel Bonnet, God bless you, posting images of A Star is Born and all that. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. And then people saying, bleep and calm down. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not ready to call him a star yet, but I am ready to say he's very much in the conversation for goalie of the future. Of course. He's been developing for years in the system over in Europe, and then last year, very impressive season in the AHL. He was up and down a bit, but he'd have games where he would get shutout after shutout. He wound up with 6 last year, which is a franchise record for the Iowa Wild. He hasn't gotten a shutout in the NHL yet, but clearly the guy has capabilities. He does, and it's exciting. It's okay to feel good. It's okay to feel good that you just might have the goalie of the future here, or at least a guy who's in contention for it. Matt Robson, things haven't gone quite as well, but the other night, Biarbo didn't have a good night either just recently. Unfortunately for him, only 20 years old, Derek Biarbo, developing in the AHL, replacing Kaapo Kahkonen, as Kahkonen is replacing Dubnyk up here in the National Hockey League, where Stalock is being the starting goalie, Kahkonen the backup. I would not mind one bit going into next season with these two guys as your goalies at all. And it's not like Stanley Cup, here we come. But I mean, maybe, because you never know. But I'm just saying, I'm not thinking like Stanley Cup, here we come. I'm thinking, hey, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with these two guys in net. It's not like we're going to be, like 10-70 or something. 10, 65 and 8 or whatever the hell. I'm just messing around with the numbers here. At the end of the day, 10-65-7. There you go. Happy now. But no, it's not like we're going to be horrible with these guys in net. Stalock can definitely hold his own. You might be able to have a platoon with the two. Stalock getting into 45 games, and then Kahkonen filling in the difference. Who knows if somebody's hurt? Maybe you get another guy in there like Matt Robson for 3 or 4 games. You just don't know. Something like that. Kind of like what Kahkonen might be doing this year, 3 or 4 games. But I kind of hope it's going to be more than 3 or 4 because I like what I see. He's not a perfect goaltender, but he's a darn good one. He's 2-0 so far this season. Zuccarello. Zucker originally, though, getting the turnover and just turning on the Jets. That was cool to get his 10th goal of the year. That was a hell of a play. In a game, again, that Florida had dominated Minnesota. Zucker, midway through the game, finally getting through there and putting in his 10th goal of the year. Not long after that, Zuccarello, off of a tic-tac-toe type of goal there. Zucker, Hunt, and Zuccarello finishing things off with the finish. It was a tic-tac-toe type of play for the most part. Zuccarello only his 5th goal of the season, but still, right place, right time. And, of course, I think he's going to continue to climb up the charts slowly but surely for the Minnesota Wild. And Soucy able to get his 2nd goal of the season. And a gorgeous feed by Parisi. That was freaking cool. Victor Rask also a much-needed point. Every time Victor Rask gets one, I'm like, much-needed point for Victor Rask. Oh, Victor. What is it, his 5th point of the year? Oh, not too many points for Victor this year. But again, it's not like he stinks out there. He's been, he's been better than a lot of people expected. That was only his 5th point of the season, though, in 18 games. But it's not like he's getting scratched every night, because he's not. He was scratched at the beginning of the season a bit. But then when you notice, he's not bad. He's not bad out there. Good for him. Unfortunately, Mr. Spurgeon would take a puck off his glove. Most likely, as they're saying, there's a broken bone in his hand. They're saying about 2 weeks, which sounds kind of crazy. You think a broken bone in your hand, you're out for 6 to 8, right? But well, it's hockey, and it must be in a place where maybe it's not a complete break, more of a crack, and things can heal up. As long as you're careful, dare we say careful in hockey. That's kind of the craziest thing. Because pucks are going to fly at you. But, I don't know, that's what happened to Zuccarello last year. It sucks when you have your arms or hands up in the way, your wrists up in the way in a shot because bad things are going to happen. It's just a crying shame that things happen the way they did. Zuccarello, again, missed a ton of time because he had a broken wrist. The puck went right into his wrist last year when he just got to the Dallas Stars his first game. Zuccarello, hey, I'm going to be the tough guy and block the shot. Boom, So, unfortunately, that's just how it goes. It sucks when it hits one of your limbs like that. At the end of the day, you wish it hits your side or your butt or something. Something like that to make your block, or like a shin guard, something like that. Pray for the best there. Scary stuff. But we're looking at maybe week to week, like 2 weeks, and we'll see what happens to Spurgeon after that. Again, Koivu, undisclosed injury day to day. So he did not return early in the third period, only 12:40 in minutes. So kind of like played fourth line minutes. No, not really, but it shows up like that. Crazy to think Fiala was only out there for 12:40 as well. He had kind of limited time at the end of the day. Cunnin, very nice game for him. He got 16 minutes, one of the leading forwards out there in terms of TOI, including Yul Eriksson. Very, very solid performance. Cunnin was active throughout the game, eventually got rewarded with an empty netter. And this wasn't like just a little skate to the net and just lay it in there type of goal. It was a shot from basically across the entire rink in the Minnesota zone, about from the blue line in the Minnesota zone. Jason Zucker, Luke Cunnin putting the puck close to the net, and it rolled in. Luckily, Florida unable to catch up to that one. Cunnin with his 6th goal of the year. Good for him at the end of the day. Feeling good for Cunnin for that one. And hey, like they say, if one way or another, if you're going to get a point, you're going to get a point. And again, a much-needed point for Jonas Brodin. You're going to find a way to score. If it's empty net, it's better than nothing. If it's off your skate, off your butt, off your back, it's better than nothing. A goal's a goal. And Minnesota walks out of Florida with a 4-2 victory. Very impressive fashion. 48 shots, pace for Kaapo Kahkonen, and they actually brought it down to 46 for some reason. It was 48. Wound up with 44 total saves. Save percentage just about 96. Awesome performance by Kaapo Kahkonen. And the 2 goals are the 2 goals, of course, because there was no overtime period. So far in 2 games, 2 goals allowed for Kaapo Kahkonen. 95 save percentage. Awesome. And again, a 2-0 record. Because I have to hit the sneeze button there, but that came out of nowhere. But spectacular start to Kahkonen's career. Not ready to call him a star yet, but we'll see. Maybe there it is. A very good chance that he's the goalie of the future for Minnesota. Mike Modano Award winner for the past week. I'm going to give it to Zach Parise. Honorable mentions to Koivu and Kahkonen. Absolutely deserve to be mentioned. Stalock was good, too. It's like, shoot, awesome week for Minnesota, 3-0. And these are teams that Minnesota struggled against. Even freaking Ottawa. Minnesota always has had weird games against Ottawa, especially matinee games. Weird matinee games against teams you don't play very often. Those Eastern Conference teams you play twice a year. Weird things tend to happen. And Minnesota just came out and kicked some ass after a frustrating start. Anders Nilsson stopping everything, and then all of a sudden the floodgates open. But to beat Dallas, who we always struggle against, and in Florida, that's not easy. We almost never win in Florida. So, awesome performance by Minnesota in that one. And again, great goaltending by Kaapo Kahkonen. It could have easily been a blowout if Kahkonen was not on his game and wasn't ready to go. This could have been it could have been a 6-3 type of game in favor of Florida, with some of the attempts they were getting, and Kahkonen really focused in after, kind of a mediocre start to the game in that first period. Awesome stuff. The James Shepard Memorial, I don't know. Just for the lack of production, lack of finding the net, lack of puck luck, Matt Dumba I'm going to give it to him back-to-back weeks for that, only that reason. I don't think he was that bad or anything. It's just still the lack of production. It's just not there. It's strange. Spurgeon and Dumba had both played 28 games up to this point, and Spurgeon's basically doubling him up. That's weird. So it's extremely frustrating to see that Dumba is not finding the back of the net whatsoever. So I'm going to have to give it to him in a very mild form. With that, we'll take a quick break. We're going to preview 3 games and look at the up-and-coming prospects for the Minnesota Wild. back here on Brave the Wild. Segment number 2, time to look at 3 games, starting with Tampa and moving on into Carolina and hosting the Anaheim Ducks. Hosting the Anaheim Ducks on Tuesday, a couple of days off. Hopefully after the Wild continue a nice long win streak here. We'll see. We'll see. I have opinions on this week. We'll see. Should be okay. And then it's going to get super busy. Edmonton, Philly, Chicago, and Vegas. That'll be really fun. Those will be previewed on next week's show as we get closer and closer to Christmas. I'm not in a huge rush for Christmas to come because I'd rather enjoy Christmas season. I like to enjoy it while it's here rather than just see it just wished away and then it's all over already just like that. That kind of sucks. And then it's back to boring old normal again. Oh, well. It is what it is, isn't it? Prospects continue to, improve. But now that we're doing it on a week-to-week basis, the numbers aren't going to be jumping up like they were before. Minnesota heading to Tampa Bay tonight. Tampa Bay Lightning already there, I'm sure. 6th place in the Atlantic Division, 13-9-3 record. Again, winning record, but way down there and would be missing the playoffs right now. Cooper there, I think, would be in trouble as a coach as things continue here. Curtis McElhinney, the former Carolina Hurricane, and others along the way. I've almost forgotten all the teams he's been on. He's been all over the place. Vasilevsky not having the kind of year he's been having in the past here. Kucherov led the league in scoring last year. Missed a few games so far. 10 goals, 20 assists, still 30 points. I'd still take him. Again, not having the spectacular year he was last season yet. Bummer for my fantasy team because he was wound up there. Kevin Shattenkirk wound up there also in the offseason after a not-so-great year with the Washington Capitals. Victor Hedman, of course, spectacular. He's missed a few games, but he's just been incredible. They have a couple of really nice defensemen there, and Braden Point, obviously, he's missed some games. I mean, you've had injuries, you've had frustration, you've had this and that. The goaltending's not been the same. McElhinney, who was really good last year, but Carolina's been awful. 3.5 goals against, and Vasilevsky not far under 3 goals a game. Both of them at .908, identical save percentage for both of them. But McElhinney must have faced more shots in the amount of time he was out there. Kind of a frustrating season so far for Tampa Bay. They're nowhere near where they were. But maybe this is the year that they get in the playoffs with a 6th seeds or something like that and win the Stanley Cup. Maybe that's what it's going to take rather than having that top record because the President's Trophy is a curse. Boston, though, they look like the team of destiny so far. I mean, they are on a mission. After losing at home last year in Game 7 of the finals. They're like, screw that. We're winning the Cup this year. And maybe, but unfortunately for them and unfortunately for the Minnesota Wild, who are having a great record right now. No Stanley Cups have ever been won in December. So we got to keep waiting there. Tampa Bay again. I mean, I expect Minnesota to play well against this team. We've historically played well against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I wouldn't be surprised if the Wild come out with a victory in this one as well. Stalock will be in net. You won't get to see back-to-back games from Kahkonen, which would be awesome. Again, it's not back-to-back nights or anything either. So Tuesday to Thursday. Tampa Bay, boy, oh boy. Yep, they're just not where they were last year. They were like first all over the league. They are 3rd in the power play, which is really good. Just under 29%. They are 11th in goals against, which is actually not as bad as it looks. It's crazy. A lot of goaltenders are not having good seasons right now. They're 10th in goals for, because obviously the offense is there. Their penalty kill is 21st, so if the Wild can get on the power play, hopefully we can take advantage of that situation. That would be great. Again, a talented team that could win the Stanley Cup. You got 2 defensemen that are spectacular. Steven Stamkos, who's been a franchise player who didn't play like one when they got to the finals years ago against the Blackhawks in, I believe that was 2015, right? Yeah, 2015. They lost the Cup final to the Blackhawks, unfortunately, for Tampa. Stamkos just did not show up in that series. But since then, he's had his moments. He's missed time. He's been good. He's missed time. Kucherov emerged and kind of took over, in a sense, as the overall star offensively. Victor Hedman and Shattenkirk, though, I mean, no reason why Tampa shouldn't be a playoff team. It's crazy to see them struggling a little bit, but a lot of teams are struggling. Montreal, Toronto, blah, blah, blah. Same old story there. Detroit's way down, but, we'll see. At the end of the day, Tampa Bay is only 2 points away from second place. They're just 2 points behind Florida, who's not the strongest second-place team in the league. And Tampa also has several games in hand. 2 games in hand versus Florida and 3 games in hand versus the first-place And best team in hockey right now, the Boston Bruins. Best team by far, I think. I think they beat the Capitals easily in a series right now. Easily. The goal differential is ridiculous in Boston. Minnesota, I think we're going to win this game. I think we're going to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, believe it or not. We've matched up well with them. We've just played well. If it's a 2-1 type of a close game or 4-2 or something like that, I think Minnesota is going to come out and win this thing. Something along the lines of 3-2. Most likely guy to score for the Minnesota Wild against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh, boy. Can I say Matt Dumba? Matt Dumba, you're ready. Come on, let's go. Matt Dumba scoring against the Tampa Bay Lightning. He'll get his 4th goal of the season finally and his 10th point. Matt Dumba is finally going to find the back of the net. I thought he was going to have a 2-goal game against somebody this week. I'm going to pick Florida. No, I'm not. I've got another team that he's going to score against. I've got another team. We'll leave this alone. We're going to go with Parise. We're going to ride the hot hand here. I can see Parise continuing his strong play, his 13th goal of the season against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Minnesota actually wins the game 3-2 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So let's move forward here for the sake of time. Saturday the 7th, the Carolina Hurricanes. All right. Yep, 6 p.m. our time here, Central Time. For those of us in the Twin Cities, some of you might be from Australia or New Zealand. Maybe Vince Germano or Tanae Brown are listening. There's a few Australians listening to this show, which is so freaking cool. Can't thank Benny Allen enough for listening along the course of time and passing it on to others out there. So maybe some Canadians are listening. Who knows? Maybe somebody in North Carolina is listening. That would be kind of cool. If you are, let me know. Facebook or Twitter. Okay, well, I don't think the Wild are going to beat the Carolina Hurricanes. This matchup has just never worked out, and again, we lost to them recently. They have a goalie platoon going on there. James Reimer, the Florida former Panther, he's been around the league. Mrazek, the former Detroit Red Wing. Andrei Svechnikov is actually leading the club in scoring this year. All these Russians are taking over, boy, and you know what? Good for them. They're doing great. Hopefully the Minnesota Wild have a certain Russian player taking over as well, leading us in scoring. A guy by the name of Kirill Kaprizov in the 2021 season. Pray to God there isn't a big lockout. Eric Holla, this is where he wound up with his former teammate Nino Niederreiter, former and now current again teammate Nino Niederreiter. Nino not having the year that he had last year. And I didn't think he would. Victor Rask is halfway to Nino right now with 5 points. Nino's got 10. And Nino's played 10 more games than Victor Rask. So, yeah, it's getting closer. I'm just being hopeful, right? Just being hopeful. Very talented team. The goaltending's been solid. I mean, Mrazek and Reimer at each of them about 2.5 goals a game, a little over that. Reimer's been a little better, about 92% save percentage, not bad at all. And he did well against Minnesota recently. Mrazek just at about 90, but he has a couple shutouts on the air, so he's been kind of hot and cold. He's been getting the most of the games. He's 11-6 is Mrazek. So Reimer's been a little snake bit with some of the shots he's had to face, but he's been good. He's been good, generally speaking. 5-5 on the season for Reimer. I wouldn't be surprised if he's right back in net again. Mrazek is one of those guys, though, where he could be spectacular and he could get beat a bit. So that's the hope. There's always the kind of hot, cold guy, and then there's the stable guy at this stage. Svechnikov, though, what a nice emergence for him. 29 points, over a point a game for him. Dougie Hamilton, the former Calgary Flame, has been awesome. That's looking like a better trade for Carolina than it was a year ago with Lindholm, the way he was dominating for the Calgary Flames last year. Dougie Hamilton, always a good player for them, but 28 points on the year. Defenseman Dougie Hamilton, he's just been awesome. Plus 15 on the year. Sebastian Aho down a little bit, but still leading the club in goals. And I got to think things will kind of even out a bit over the course of time for him, along with Teuvo Teravainen. Oh, my God, that guy's an awesome player. Oh, I would kill to have a guy like that on my team. And against Sebastian Aho is a guy that I could have had just like 9 million other players. It's just always winds up that way, doesn't it? Always. Jordan Stahl, again, Eric Stahl's brother, way, way down there, only 7 points. Much more of a quote-unquote role player, fourth-line type of guy in the NHL, where his brother's been more of a top-line type of guy for many years. Eric Stahl, the former Carolina Hurricane. Most likely guy to score in this game will be Eric Stahl. Isn't that the lamest thing ever? Yeah, but he will. I think Eric Stahl's going to score against his former team, but Minnesota's not going to win. I'm expecting a 4-2 loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. At the end of the day, I just think they're obviously they're a very good team. And Minnesota's not going to win every game this week. They're just not. I don't think we're going to go on a huge, long winning streak. And if we do, so be it. And good. I'm glad I was wrong. That type of thing. That'll be my vibe at the end of the day. But it's just not been a good matchup. Even when Carolina stunk, it's not been a good matchup for this team. Just like Florida, I was wrong about that. Hell, do you think I'm complaining right now that the Wild came out and beat Florida 4-2 after facing 46 shots with the rookie goaltender? Pretty freaking cool. So maybe Kahkonen will be in net and the Wild get the victory. I wouldn't actually be surprised if Kahkonen was in net for Carolina. And then we go back with Stalock on Tuesday. So Stalock will get like a pretty strong, pretty long break there. Thursday to Tuesday break. Get back in the net, which I think is wise for any coach to do. You can't put the same goalie in all the time like we did with Dubnyk for so freaking long. That's why the guy's burnt out now and he's not as good anymore. That's what happened to Nicholas Backstrom. It's what happened to you could go on for Jonathan Quick. I mean, you put him in net every night, they're going to burn out and they're going to be done by like 32, 33. That sucks. Shouldn't ever happen. Or they get traded and they step up a little better somewhere else because different surroundings and different players and different frustrations and all that. Some of the frustrations you might have with certain guys that you're kind of keeping your mouth shut and not saying, but once you leave, it changes. Most recently, Boston just beat Carolina 2-0. Impressive. Wow, they're good. Oh, Boston's amazing. Boston is amazing. I forgot to look at some of these. I usually look at the last 5 games and such. Carolina will play San Jose and before they play the Minnesota Wild 2 days before there, so it's not a back-to-back situation for the Carolina Hurricanes. Most recently lost to Boston. They've actually lost 3 out of their last 5. They lost to the Rangers in Nashville. 3-0 to Nashville? Ugh. Nashville's not that good right now. They beat Detroit, no surprise, 2-0 on the 24th, and then they beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Carolina Panthers, that is, on Carolina Hurricanes. Crap, where's Cam Newton? Not going to be with the Panthers anymore either. Carolina Hurricanes defeat the Tampa Bay Lightning in Tampa, which I think the Wild will do as well, coming up tonight. But lost to Carolina, in my humble opinion. Let's move forward. Anaheim Ducks, couple days off. Tuesday the 10th, at home in the safe, happy confines of Xcel Energy Center. Minnesota Wild versus the Anaheim Ducks, who are 500 and in last place of the Pacific Division, which is a good, solid, strong division. Kind of mediocre in every category. The goaltending's been good for the most part. Kind of middle of the road, though, at the end of the day. They don't score a whole lot of goals. 23rd in the league. The power play's 29th are the Ducks. 22nd on the penalty kill, and they get a ton of penalty minutes as well. 29th in the league there. They get a ton. So it is what it is. John Gibson, obviously a good, strong goalie who has not had the best year at the end of the day. Ryan Getzlaf has been hitting his milestones. He's kind of the Koivu of the Anaheim Ducks, this current version of the Ducks. They've had a lot of great players over the years, the Corey Perrys, and obviously had Paul Correa back in the day, Timo Solani. But the current group, Ryan Getzlaf is the Koivu of them. Rickard Rakell, who a lot of people compared Ullmark's X game to. Would love to see 19 points in 28 games from Ullmark's X, but it's not happening at the moment, unfortunately. Just kind of is what it is. Rickard Rakell, second in scoring. Hampus Lindholm, who again was taken right before Matt Dumba, or was it right after? Right around that point. 12 points on the year. Another defenseman who's been adequate, but not great. But he's outscoring Dumba so far. I think the Wild win this game. You got to. You got to beat the Anaheim Ducks. They're not that good. They don't score a whole lot of goals. Goaltending's mediocre at best. This would just be a crappy loss, I think. If we're serious about getting back in the playoff hunt, you got to win this game. But if you're tanking, which they're not, obviously, they're not tanking. Some of us want them to tank so we can get a high draft pick, and maybe things will wind up that way anyway. Who knows what's going to happen tonight? You don't know what's going to happen tonight. How things can, have a domino effect. Let's just leave that alone. I'm not wishing anybody injury or anything, but you don't know what's going to happen. Spurgeon getting hurt was not a good thing. It's, it might hurt the Wild's chances of winning in Tampa or in Anaheim, or hosting Anaheim, whatever, winning these games. Only one shutout on the year for John Gibson, the former actor. No, I'm kidding. Ryan Miller, he's ancient. He's been around forever. He's been a good, solid backup, but again, is he, though? He's been good against us. John Gibson's been good against us, too. That's where I think the Wild would lose. It's either one of those goalies gets hot, obviously. Anaheim doesn't score a whole lot of goals. But once in a while, Gibson or Miller, either one of them, just shuts us down. And it's one of those awful, 2-0, 2-1 type of games. It's boring as hell. And again, Anaheim is solid defense as well, physical brand of hockey. They're a fairly physical, solid team that doesn't score a whole lot. like they used to back in the day. But they've always been pretty physical, though. Just way, way, way back when they had the speedsters like Korea and Solani and such. They scored more often back in those days. Minnesota's going to win the game 2-1, 3-2, 3-1 type of game. Maybe we get an empty netter. And the guy that will score his fourth goal of the season, if he hadn't scored against Tampa or Carolina, will be Darkwing Dumba. Darkwing Dumba. He's going to score a goal against the Anaheim Ducks. He's done it before, and he's going to do it again. Darkwing Dumba is going to score like he's Darkwing Duck. I know, I'm just messing around. That's kind of my nickname I give him. He is going to score his at least his fourth goal of the season and his 10th point if something hadn't happened between now and then. And I hope it does. I hope it's his freaking 6th goal, something like that. But I think Dumba will find a way to get it done. Maybe an overtime goal. Maybe he'll explode to the net like defensemen with speed are want to do in overtime 3-on-3 periods. So Minnesota wins the game 3-2, 3-1, that type of thing at the end of the day. And Minnesota's 2-1 and hanging on, and maybe hanging on to a wild card spot. We'll see at the end of the day. Let's look at those prospects and players in the AHL. And as per usual, we will open things up with the AHL. Iowa Wild not been playing so great of late. They've been struggling, been giving up goals. Again, remember last week, Robson gave up 7 goals in a game. That was nasty. They haven't been playing a whole lot. Brendan Mennel continues to climb up the charts. Will he get called up? We haven't heard anything yet. They're talking about a possible shot, getting right shot getting called up, or Steeler getting some playing time to move maybe Brad Hunt around, whatever. But, I mean, Brad Hunt's already playing right side, so it kind of is what it is there. It's a tough situation. Maybe Hunt moves up. Then Steeler comes in. Susie remains. It's a weird combination. I almost think you have to call up a right shot, though. You have to call up a right shot because everybody's left. You only have 2 right shots on the roster right now, and yay! Otherwise, Greg Pattern just slides right in. I'm not hearing them doing that, so I'm okay with that. If that's the case. Oh God, not really excited about it. Not a whole lot of excitement in Iowa, though, the past few days. Nico Sturm's at 11 points on the season, 6 goals. Belpedio's stuck at 8 points. He's been there forever after a strong start to the season. Brennan Mennel, though, now tied with Mayhew and Sam Honest for leading the club in scoring, 19 points, 17 assists. Just a power play quarterback out there. Brennan Mennel, love his game. And a lot of people want to see him called up, him or Belpedio. Mennel's been the hot hand. If you want to go with that and see what happens, I think Mennel could fill right in for Spurgeon at this moment. I mean, not literally, obviously. He's not as good as Spurgeon right now. Maybe someday he will be. But I love Brennan Mennel's game. I really do. Belpedio's a -6. Mennel's a +2. Again, with Iowa having a couple of nasty losses lately, not many players are pluses right now. Mayhew was just a +1. Mennel's a +2. Will Biden's a +2. Bill Biden, well, yeah. Josh Atkinson, the defenseman there, is a little bit of a veteran from Spruce Grove, Alberta. He's a +2 with only 6 assists on the season. Sokolov has not seen any action. Pattern got in 1 game, was a plus. Nope, he got a couple penalty minutes. Yay. I'm not excited about Greg Pattern coming back. I'm really not, and I don't think many people are at this stage. It's no offense or anything, but yeah. Derek Barbeau, again, couple games since the last show. He's allowing 3 goals a game. He's won 1 and lost 1. Again, not the most impressive showing for this club lately. Robson's had a couple of nasty games here, 5 goals and 7 goals, and his goals against average is now 2.68. He's nowhere near where he was. Save percentage is .907 now. Disappointing. Derek Barbeau, right about 88% save percentage. Not been a good start for his young 20-year-old career. So, best of luck there. Hoping for improvement, but things have not been so great in Iowa lately, unfortunately. Guys like Mayhew, Honest, and Mennel just continue to lead the way. Dumont's had a couple of good games along with Luke Johnson, who's just kind of getting going after recovering from injury there. He's got 5 points in only 5 games. That's good for him. Luke Johnson might be one of those 4th line type of guys you could call up and give him a shot from Grand Forks, North Dakota. Luke Johnson's had his moments here and there. He's played 15 games in the National Hockey League, 1 assist thus far. He's had a solid minor league career. He was a 5th-round pick for the Hawks back in 2013. I can't believe how long ago 2013 is already. But other than that, though, it's not been so hot there in Iowa lately. The goaltending's not where it was. The scoring is not not happening. It's, I don't know, not very exciting lately, unfortunately. Prospects, yeah, not as exciting couple weeks here. Matt Boldy stuck at 2 points. Just, he's struggling in Boston College in his first 13 games of his collegiate career. But, obviously a lot of blue chips have done that. First off to a better start. Only 18 years of age. First off, a left shot left wing. We have 9 million of those, but he might end up being a good one. Second round pick for Paul Fenton this past summer. 9 points so far for the University of Connecticut, which, not bad. Not a bad start to his young career. Hunter Jones is off to a strong, solid start to his, season. He's had a couple of shutouts. He's been strong. Actually, one shutout, and he's had a lot of strong games. 17-3. Got a good team in front of him. 17-3 on the season. That is awesome. Awesome start to his young career there. OHL, obviously heading to Minnesota one day. And Marshall Warren, 4 points still. He's stuck at 4 points, but again, not bad for a potentially offensive defenseman. Boston College, Jack McBain, 7 points. Yep. Boston College, I don't even think they played this weekend, honestly. I don't even think they played last week. Actually, now that I come back to that, they actually didn't. That's why nothing's changing. And that's just how it goes. Ivan Lodney at 27 points on the season. He has been so strong for the Niagara Ice Dogs. Love it. Again, just stay healthy. Last year he had that shoulder injury, which kept him out for a long time. It was frustrating. But he's been wonderful. He's been wonderful, especially since going to Niagara. He's been above a point a game, and he's, again, about 2 points a game almost in Niagara. Awesome run for Ivan Lodney, a future right winger for Minnesota. Again, guy who'd probably have to be in the top two lines. We'll see. And Kovanov has just been absolutely ridiculous for the Moncton Wildcats. Moncton Wildcats. Just unbelievable. 45 points in 23 games, 19 of them goals, plus 28. Wildcats are having a good run. They've gotten deep in the playoffs the past couple of years. Kovanov was a point a game in the postseason last year for them. Just been one of the stars over there. Again, it's the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. It's not the AHL. It's not the NHL. But hey, if you some great players have come from the QMJHL and have been spectacular. They've had their 100-point seasons down there, up there, I should say, because that's Canada. But it's in Canada, for crying out loud. So I guess you could say up there. And they come to the NHL, and next thing you know, they end up having a very, very, very productive, if not an awesome NHL career at the end of the day. Swaney and co. did not have a very good weekend against the top team in the nation, the Mankato State University Mavericks. As Mankato State, Minnesota. Yeah, they are a tough club. Obviously, Mankato State, Duluth did not get the win at home. Not a lot of people at the game because the snowstorm was much worse there than it was here. We got snow here, and it was slippery as bleep because it was a lot of slush and then eventually ice. The slush is slipperier than the ice, though. I'm telling you, that is dangerous stuff. It's like a banana. It's like a banana, it's mush. It's mush versus ice. Ice is dangerous, and it's got that sudden jerk like that where you feel like you're going to fall over. But that slush where you're literally stepping on mush, that just, it's disgusting. It's like a banana. Okay, so anyhow, Nick Swaney did add a point, thankfully. He's at 8 now on the season. Third goal of the season for Nicholas Swaney in 11 games so far for the Minnesota Duluth Bulldogs, the two-time defending national champs. Again, it's just like nothing too exciting right now. This is the time of year when it's eventually we're going to get into what I call Christmas break. They call winter break. I call it Christmas break for a lot of the college students, college players. We're not quite there yet, but the Gophers had one of the worst weeks ever. Frickin' North Dakota, 9-3 loss, unwatchable garbage, depressing. And then you end up losing 3-2 the next day, get 0 points over North Dakota. North Dakota's chances of getting to the Frozen Four are super high. I don't think Duluth's going to three-peat, but I guess you never know. Nobody's done it, so we'll see if Duluth can pull it off. I doubt it. But they did go to the game 3 times in a row, the final game. I don't think Mankato's going to win anything. They never have, but maybe they will. Maybe they will, finally. Sam Henches, again, a guy playing on a struggling St. Cloud State club. They're at only 12. He's only played in 12 games this year and 18 points. Very, very productive. He's only a 0, though. He was a plus 14 last year. And again, that reflects on how North Dakota is just not as good this year. St. Cloud State is just not as good this year, unfortunately. We could look at Kaprizov, even though it's a tease for the moment, but he's not that far away anymore. That's the great news. thank God in heaven. Who, I can't wait for Kaprizov. My goodness. 30 points in 31 games. He's actually at a slower pace than last year. No, he's ahead of last year, pardon me. Yeah, no, he's slightly ahead of last year, and he's scoring at a pretty good pace. 16 goals on the season in 31 games, 30 total points. He's a plus 10. Last year he was a plus 34. Maybe the team in CSKA Moscow just not as good. And, of course, the pressure is always on. They had those big playoff runs, 19 games, back-to-back seasons, big, huge playoff runs for CSKA Moscow. And what will hopefully be his final season there, and heading into Minnesota in April would be freaking awesome. Maybe if the Wild make the playoffs, Kirill Kaprizov will be playing left wing for Minnesota. Oh my goodness, wouldn't that be a happy time for all of us? We'll look at Sadek and Boca. Yep, our little ECHL American, Allen Americans, pardon me. Allen, Texas, 6 points so far. First goal of the season for Jack Sadek this past week in 20 games now so far. 6 points for Sadek, so he's getting some points. But again, ECHL, we'll see. It's a long climb to the NHL from the ECHL. Boca added his 5th assist as well this past weekend. He's a plus 5 for Allen. Not bad. Nick Boca, and both of them from Minnesota. Nick Boca's from Plymouth, Minnesota. Plymouth, Michigan. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Former Michigan Wolverine. So, yep, he played for his home team, which I figured as much. Like, he's not from Minnesota. Sadek is from Lakeville, Minnesota, just like Neil Nate Dog Thiesing. My goodness. Every time I see that, I get emotional a little bit. Lakeville, Minnesota. I always think of Neil Nate Dog Thiesing. Again, former co-host of this show, who passed away on February 7th, 2018. God rest his soul forever and ever and ever. Jack Sadek. I don't think they knew each other, of course. Pretty good age difference. Neil would be, about 35 now, right? So, 34. He'd be 34. Sadek's only 22. Pretty big difference in age, but I don't know. Sometimes you bump into each other, I guess. You never know. 6 points on the season, though. Nice to see Sadek after a super slow start, kind of picking things up. Maybe he'll wind up in Iowa at some point. There's just so many spots in Iowa that are just there's no openings. I mean, there's just too many players there, kind of hogging all those positions. God bless them. I'm not trying to rip on them for being there. I mean, they're some of them are. A lot of them are veterans, 25, 26-year-old guys who they're trying their best, and they're veteran leaders. They can help some of these young guys as well. Would be nice to see Sadek get a spot, though, at some point, hopefully later this season or next season in the AHL, and then maybe he can continue to reach to his dream. But ECHL is a tough place to get too far, unfortunately. Sokolov has just been getting scratched. It's just a waste. I don't know why they're not even putting him out there, but I get it to a point. It's not working out, and it's such a damn shame. Only 5 games for AHL, 2 games in the ECHL thus far. For a guy that I had some high hopes on, because the skill's there, but is the work ethic there? That's been the complaint for the right winger, Dmitry Sokolov. That was the hope, but so far, not so good, I guess, for him. 21 years of age, still got his whole life ahead of him. Would love to see him somehow, some way turn it around and get to where it needs to be. But so far, it just has not happened for the aforementioned Dmitry Sokolov. With that, we'll look to wrap things up. I posted on the Facebook page. I don't think there was any response, so we'll leave that alone for now. @Brave the Wild, @Brave the Wild is the Twitter account. I need to be more active on the social media for this show. That's probably why not a whole lot of response. I get responses when I actually post things and tweet and all that stuff, so I need to be more active on Twitter. It's fun to get on there. And, of course, Minnesota Wild Global. We'll give them a shout-out here in a second. And MNW Prospects. Love the Minnesota Wild community on Facebook. Love you guys so much. Love you. But @Brave the Wild is the Twitter account. Give that a follow. Facebook.com/, we'll say MNW players, MNW prospects. It used to be players, it's prospects. Look that up. Join it. A lot of you have out there. Maybe some of you listening have been there for a long time, and others are joining it right now as I'm talking to you, possibly. A wonderful page to keep up with the prospects and the entire NHL roster, but prospects especially. We look at a lot of the guys because, especially right now, you want hope. You want a Nico Sturm to break through. You want a Belpedio, Brennan Mennel to break through. That's what you want. Who's going to be the next hero for this team? Obviously, Kaprizov, guys like that. We were hoping for Sokolov. That's why I talk about them a lot, and that's why I'm very proud to be a member
of MNW Prospects, one of the admins, but mostly the show, kind of bringing the information to you on here and encouraging you to join that page. That's mostly my role at this stage. Encouraging you to join MNW Players. There will be a link in the show description. MNW Prospects. I keep calling it Players. Prospects. Facebook.com/MNW Prospects. And then there's the Brave the Wild Facebook page. Facebook.com/BraveTheWild.Minnesota. I had to put the .Minnesota because Brave the Wild was taken in the past by a page that probably doesn't even exist, which is annoying, but it is what it is. Probably something environmental or something. Imagine that. I mean, Brave the Wild. It is what it is. Please like that page and comment. Would be greatly appreciated. When I'm more active on there, a lot of you do comment, so I need to be more active. I deeply apologize. I really do. I apologize. And Minnesota Wild Global, huge shout out to Scott Cavendish, who started that out. Kind enough to allow me to post links to Brave the Wild on that page, encouraging some of those people to join, listen to the Brave the Wild show and, comment with all of us, enjoy that page, in-game threads, great conversation. Scott Cavendish, Pavel Bennett's a big member of that one. He's an admin of that page. Matthew Back out there. Max as well. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you very much. I'm Eric Skybaugh. Thank you guys so much. Great conversation. MNW Prospect members of Minnesota Wild Global as well. Of course, Chance Kostick, David Kostick. Love you guys very much. They are they're in-laws for my brother there and big-time hockey fans. Too bad my brother's not all that into hockey, but Chance and David Kostick very much so. David Kostick, father-in-law of my brother and brother-in-law of my brother. So we're all related there. Love Minnesota Wild Global. Thank you again, Scott Cavendish, for getting that started and bringing a lot of those former members of Minnesota Wild Hardcore over to keep things rolling in a positive direction. Would appreciate very much if anybody out there listening who hasn't done this yet could write a positive review for Brave the Wild on either Apple Podcasts or Stitcher. Would be greatly appreciated. Can't thank you enough for those of you that have already. But if you could do that, it would be greatly appreciated. I'll give you a shout out and mention you on the air, and thank you very much. And thank you very much when that does happen. And with that said, wishing all of you a continued Merry Christmas season. Also, I better give one final thing, audio submission. If you'd like to get on the air with me, which would be great, here in a fan interaction segment, in segment 2, or if it's big enough, I'll create a third segment like I do on Timberwolves Explosion and Purple Mafia. There's no phone line anymore. We're going to eliminate that and just go to audio submission, which I highly recommend, obviously. Simply use the free voice recording application on any smart device on the planet, or if you have a laptop, desktop, with a USB microphone, and use editing software like Audacity or something, editing/recording software. Record it, save it, and send it to PaladinoLive@yahoo.com. PaladinoLive@yahoo.com. Again, same thing if you have if you use it with your smart device with the free voice recording application. Simply press record, treat it like a phone call, stop, and then again, email it to PaladinoLive@yahoo.com. Greatly appreciate that in advance. I'd love to hear from you if humanly possible. That would be freaking awesome. I will then convert the file if need be, if it's an M4A or something, which in a couple seconds with Zamzar or Converto.com. Those two websites provide a pre-service if it's a small enough file, which those are usually. Free, every time so far. So I'm more than happy to give them a free plug for providing that free service. Makes my show better. If anybody does get on air, I want to hear from you out there. Anybody out there would be great. Talk a little hockey, comment about Koivu, Kahkonen, Dubnik, whatever it is. Obviously, Parisi, Brennan Mennel. Oh, I'd love to hear about you. Love to hear from you. And of course, it's worldwide. I mean, anybody from the Czech Republic, hint, Canada, wherever. It's as free as it can be. It's a free voice recording application. You just send it, email it to me at PaladinoLive@yahoo.com, and I'm ready to roll. With that said, got that out of the way. Can't wait to hear from you in advance. God bless all of you. I hope you have a good week, and go Wild. Keep it coming.